The last practice, deep understanding, focuses on manual security testing. This is where some expertise may be required. So it's either the application teams turning to security teams for support, or in the case of a full-blown penetration test, you might be intentionally bringing in independent third parties. The very basic of what good looks like is we're gonna do some focused manual testing around things we know are high risk. This might be if you have a shared authentication or authorization system and you decide to devote some energy and resources to do careful manual testing. You could also hire a pen tester just to focus on that. Going up in the maturity and towards best practices, we have a regular pen test against all applications. In a compliance environment, this might be driven by the client requirements. For instance, in HIPAA, the High Trust Certification Framework requires annual pen testing. That's then the minimum cadence specified by compliance. Finally, the penetration tests are not occurring in isolation, ending up on a shelf. And this is hyper important. It's about maximizing the value that you get out of the test by optimizing your processes and practices. The findings, the patterns of findings, are being analyzed across the complete application portfolio. That also goes back into the threat assessment and security requirements processes. Hence, they would also end up in your automated security requirements testing. Once you do that, there will be a lot less low-hanging fruits for the pen testers to find. Level 1 is whether you're manually reviewing the security of high-risk components. You are unlikely to devote high effort to everything because you probably don't have a lot of resources available. So you're looking at having some core personnel who have the skills for doing this, and you're going back to application risk profiles to decide where the risks are to figure out where to spend most of your time. Then any findings that come out of this also need to be fed into your defect management process, obviously. At level 2, this is where you bring in a penetration testing practice. External pen testing firms, where you schedule a pen test program for them, say you have 2 vendors and 20 systems that require yearly testing, you might give 10 to one firm and 10 to the other to do 1 a month. The year after, you might swap them and have a second vendor look at the same application. So it is a good idea to have different resources pen test an application rather than having the same resource pen test the same application. Amongst the quality criteria, you provide application-specific security test cases as input, so they don't only look into common vulnerability tests. The tests consider not only technical but also logical issues. You review the test results and you spend some time in analyzing the findings, and obviously you work with qualified penetration testers. At level 3, you would like the information that is coming out of the pen test to bring maximum value and improve your processes. You're going to look at patterns of findings and feed them back to your training, feed them back to your requirements processes, and make testing in general better. Finally, you also need to handle test results in accordance with organization's risk management. That includes properly managing unaddressed findings that have been accepted as risks in the next release and putting on a time frame for fixing that.